These irrefutable laws govern all things without uncertainty. They shape the world around us as well as our inner beings. They do not budge or alter course. These universal laws leave nothing to chance. They do not operate within blurred lines, they only work within specific and well-defined lines. They are not subject to debate. The only thing that's left to question is, why are they hidden from us and not talked about? Is it because the information is so powerful it could transform our entire existence? Many believe so, and agree that certain authorities don't want us to explore these laws. If each person took on the responsibility of learning all they could about these universal laws, it would most definitely have a huge impact on their lives. These indisputable laws of the universe come from the legendary figure Hermes Trismegistus, known by the Egyptians as Thoth, the Egyptian god of writing, wisdom, and time. Before he was revered as a god, he was the first great Egyptian philosopher and founder of the ancient philosophy known as Hermeticism. Receiving his wisdom while in meditative trances, he wrote over 40 books, including the Emerald Tablet and the Book of Thoth. According to legend, these texts hold the secret of the Far Order, mystical wisdom from ancient Egypt, and are said to cause a change in anyone who reads them to mastery of the self. The objective of this video is to offer these teachings, accompanied by explanations, in order to assist modern students in understanding this esoteric knowledge. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. Number 1. The principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This principle is all about the idea that everything starts with the mind. It says that everything we see and experience in the world around us, like the physical universe, life, matter, and energy, all come from a bigger reality called the all. The all is like a powerful and infinite mind, but it's something we can't fully understand or put into words. Instead, we can think of it as a universal and never-ending living mind. This principle also tells us that the entire world we know, everything we see and feel, is actually created by the thoughts of the all. It's like a big mental creation, following certain rules just like things we create follow rules. The whole universe, every part of it, exists within the mind of the all. It's as if we are living and moving within this vast mind. Understanding this principle helps us make sense of many things that might seem strange or mysterious. It helps us understand things like thoughts, feelings, and experiences that happen in our minds. Without this understanding, these things might seem confusing and beyond explanation. When we really get this idea of mentalism, we can understand the rules that the mental universe follows. This understanding can then be used to improve our lives and make progress. It's like having a special key that lets us open doors to the knowledge about our minds and psychic experiences. This principle also helps us see what energy, power, and matter really are, and why they are all connected to the control of the mind. Long ago, an old Hermetic master wrote, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And this is still true today, just as it was when it was first written. Without this key understanding, reaching mastery is really hard, and it's like trying to get into a locked temple without the right key. Number 2. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This principle holds a profound truth that connects the laws and events occurring in different aspects of existence and life. Imagine it as a bridge that links various planes of reality. This idea is encapsulated in an ancient Hermetic saying, "What happens above is reflected below, and what happens below is reflected above." Essentially, this means that the patterns and rules governing the higher and lower realms mirror each other. By grasping this concept, we gain a powerful tool for unraveling puzzling mysteries and hidden truths in the natural world. Think of existence as a multi-layered structure, like a stack of different sheets. Some of these sheets are beyond our current understanding, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we can begin to make sense of things that would otherwise remain unknowable. This principle isn't limited to a specific area, it's a universal law that operates across the material, mental, and spiritual dimensions of the universe. Long ago, Hermetists recognized the incredible value of this principle. They saw it as a mental key that could unlock doors to the unknown. It was like a special tool that allowed them to remove barriers that obscured hidden truths. They believed that using this principle was like lifting a curtain, allowing a glimpse into the mysteries of the universe. Just as someone who understands the rules of geometry can calculate the positions of distant stars from their observatory, someone who grasps the principle of correspondence can easily reason from what is known to what is unknown. It's like studying the smallest building blocks of existence, known as monads, and gaining insight into the nature of higher beings like archangels. In simpler terms, this principle teaches us that there are similarities and connections between different levels of reality. By understanding these connections, we can uncover secrets that would otherwise remain hidden. It's like discovering that the same rules apply whether you're studying tiny particles or vast cosmic phenomena. This concept has been treasured by those who seek to unravel the mysteries of the world, offering them a way to bridge the gap between what is known and what is yet to be discovered. Number 3. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle teaches us a profound truth. Everything is always in motion. It's like everything is constantly shaking or moving in some way. This idea is supported by modern science, and every new discovery scientists make reinforces this truth. But what's fascinating is that this principle was actually talked about thousands of years ago by wise people in ancient Egypt. They were called the Masters. Now let us dive deeper into what this principle means. It tells us that the differences we see in different things, whether it's matter, energy, mind, or even spirit, these differences are mostly because things are vibrating at different speeds. Imagine things shaking at different rates, and that's kind of how it works. Starting from the highest level, there's something called the all, which is like pure spirit or energy. It's vibrating so fast that it seems like it's not moving at all, sort of like when a spinning wheel looks like it's standing still. On the other side, there's really solid matter that's vibrating so slowly that it seems like it's not moving either. In between these extremes, there are countless levels of vibration. Think of tiny particles like electrons and atoms, all the way up to entire worlds and universes. They're all vibrating. This idea also applies to things like energy and forces. They're just different forms of vibration. Even our thoughts and feelings are connected to this principle. Our mental states depend on how our thoughts and feelings vibrate. And this concept goes beyond, reaching into the realm of spirituality as well. Understanding this principle is like holding a powerful key. It helps people who study Hermetic ideas to manage their own thoughts and feelings, and even influence the thoughts and feelings of others. The masters who knew about this principle also used it to understand and control things that happen naturally in the world. There's a saying from one of the old writers that goes, "He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power." In simpler words, if you really understand this idea, you can have a lot of control and influence over different things, including your own thoughts and the world around you. Number 4. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, all paradoxes may be reconciled. The principle of polarity is a fundamental idea that helps explain the concept of opposites and the varying degrees between them. This principle is rooted in the belief that everything in the universe has dual aspects, like two sides of a coin. It's like the saying, there are two sides to every story. This concept is not new, it has its origins in ancient Hermetic teachings. Imagine you have a thermometer and you're looking at temperature. This principle suggests that there's no clear point where heat ends and cold begins. Instead, they're on a continuous spectrum with many levels of warmth and coolness in between. Even though we think of heat and cold as opposites, they're actually just different degrees of the same thing, temperature. So the idea is that opposites are just the extreme ends of a continuous scale, and everything in between is a varying degree of those opposites. This principle helps explain a lot of puzzling ideas that have been around for ages. For example, the idea that thesis and antithesis are identical in nature but different in degree means that even though two opposing things might seem very different, they share a common essence, but they are just more or less intense versions of it. Think of it like colors on a spectrum. Red and orange might seem different, but they're both shades of the same basic color. Another aspect of this principle is that opposites can transform into each other through a spectrum of degrees. Love and hate, for instance, might seem like complete opposites, but there are various levels of affection and dislike in between. Something we might even find ourselves in a middle ground of liking or disliking without being sure which one we feel. This principle proposes that by understanding this spectrum and using our willpower, we can shift our mental state from one end to the other. So it suggests that it's possible to change hatred into love and vice versa. This principle of polarity is also connected to the idea of alchemy, not just in a physical sense of turning base metals into gold, but in a mental and emotional sense. It suggests that just as we can shift our own mental states, we can also influence others' feelings and thoughts. It's like changing the way we perceive and respond to situations. The principle goes even further to explain that what we often see as good and evil are just opposite ends of the same spectrum. And the skilled practitioners of this philosophy, the Hermetic Masters, can transform negativity into positivity by using this principle of polarity. This is likened to changing one's emotional and mental vibration, the way we feel and think, through understanding and mastery of this principle. In essence, the principle of polarity teaches us that everything has opposite aspects and varying degrees in between. Opposites are more like different points on a continuous scale than completely unrelated concepts. By grasping and applying this principle, we gain the ability to change our own and others' mental states, using our willpower and understanding of this fundamental law of nature. It's a powerful concept that has intrigued thinkers and practitioners for centuries, offering a way to transform our perceptions, emotions, and the very way we experience the world. Number 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This principle explains a fundamental truth. In everything, there's a kind of back and forth movement, like a swinging pendulum or the ebb and flow of tides. This motion happens between two opposing forces, which were explained in the principle of polarity we discussed earlier. Imagine a seesaw. It moves up and down because of the two sides pushing against each other. This motion has a pattern. Something moves forward, then it moves backward. It rises, and then it sinks. This pattern exists all around us, from the way the universe works to the behavior of the suns, planets, humans, animals, and even thoughts and energy. This pattern is even seen in bigger things like the creation and destruction of planets, the rise and fall of nations, and the cycle of life itself. And guess what? It also affects our minds. This is where the Hermetic thinkers find it really important. They've deeply understood this principle and found ways to deal with its effects on themselves. They use something called the mental law of neutralization. They can't completely stop this pattern from happening, but they've learned how to lessen its impact on themselves using certain techniques. They sort of balance themselves out. It's like when someone is on a seesaw and they want to stay in the middle, they can control it a bit by moving their weight. People who have become really good at this self-control do it without even thinking much about it. But those who are true experts, the masters, do it with full awareness and by using their strong willpower. They reach a level of calm and mental strength that might be hard to believe for most people who often feel like they're being pushed around like a pendulum. These ideas, this principle, and the principle of polarity we talked about earlier are really important to the Hermetic thinkers. They've spent a lot of time studying them, and they've figured out ways to work against these patterns, to balance them out, and to even use them for their benefit. This is a big part of what they call Hermetic mental alchemy, a sort of mental transformation that helps them find balance and control in a world full of ups and downs. Number 6. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This principle teaches us that for every outcome or result we observe, there is a specific reason behind it, a cause that triggered it. Likewise, every cause we see in the world leads to an effect. This idea clarifies that events don't just occur randomly, there's always a pattern or law guiding them. This principle rejects the concept of pure chance. It suggests that even though there are different levels or layers where causes and effects operate, the higher levels still influence the lower ones. In other words, nothing can fully escape this natural law. The individuals who understand and follow this principle have learned how to rise above the usual level of causes and effects. They can elevate their thinking to a higher level of understanding. By doing so, they transform from being merely influenced by circumstances to becoming the ones who initiate change. On the other hand, most people are swept along by their surroundings and the desires of others who are more forceful than them. Factors like their family background, suggestions they receive, and external forces move them around like chess pieces on a game board. However, the masters, those who have mastered this principle, manage to ascend to a higher level of existence. They gain control over their emotions, personal traits, abilities, and even the circumstances around them. Instead of being passive players, they become active participants in the game of life. They continue shaping their own experiences rather than just reacting to the wills of others and the world around them. These masters don't fight against the principle, rather, they work in harmony with it. While they acknowledge the influence of higher planes of existence, they also exert their influence on their own level. Number 7. The principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. At the heart of this principle lies a profound truth: the concept that gender, representing both masculine and feminine qualities, is present in all aspects of existence. This truth is not confined solely to the physical realm, it extends to the mental and spiritual dimensions as well. On the physical plane, we observe this principle as the distinction between male and female sexes. However, as we ascend to higher planes of existence, the principle takes on more refined forms, yet its essence remains constant. This principle is an essential foundation for creation in all its forms, be it physical, mental, or spiritual. Without the interplay of these masculine and feminine qualities, no creation can occur. Understanding the laws that govern this principle can illuminate various complex subjects that have puzzled humanity's intellect. The principle of gender guides the forces of generation, regeneration, and creation. It's the force that drives life to renew itself, to evolve, and to bring forth new forms of existence. Contained within every being and everything are these two fundamental elements, the masculine and the feminine principles. Every male entity possesses a feminine aspect, and likewise, every female entity holds itself within the masculine principle. To grasp the profound philosophy behind the creation, generation, and regeneration of both mental and spiritual aspects, it's imperative to grasp and delve into this Hermetic principle. It holds the answers to many enigmas that life presents. However, it's vital to note that this principle should not be confused with debased and immoral theories, teachings, or practices that exploit the natural principle of gender. Throughout history, some have twisted and degraded these ideas for their own base desires. The Hermetic philosophy strongly condemns such degenerate teachings that lead to lust, licentiousness, and the perversion of nature's fundamental truths. It warns against those who attempt to exploit these teachings for immoral purposes. If one seeks such corrupt teachings, they must search elsewhere, for the teachings of Hermeticism have no room for such distortions. The philosophy asserts that to those with pure intentions, the world appears pure, while to those with corrupt intentions, everything seems tainted. This principle of gender, when approached with genuine understanding and respect, can guide us to profound insights into the mysteries of life and creation. True Hermetic transmutation is a mental art. The Hermetists tell us that when we want to have an impact on our surroundings, we do it through the power of our thoughts. They say that everything in the world is based on thoughts. This means that the way things work around us is controlled by our thinking. This idea helps us understand why we see different kinds of mental powers getting a lot of attention and study in the early 1900s. Many different groups and schools talk about these powers, but at their core, they all come back to the idea that the universe is made of a mental substance. If the universe is made of thoughts, then changing our thoughts can change how things happen in the universe. So if the universe is all about thoughts, then the most important thing that can change what happens is our mind. Once we understand this, we can see that things we might call miracles or incredible happenings are actually just a result of how our minds work on the universe.